And I think it's fitting because do you remember the time those idiots threw snowballs at Santa? Like, how do you as a city get past that? I remember fighting a guy outside of Hofbrauhaus in Pittsburgh who very proudly told the story that he and his friends, when Vince Young came back from his mental health hiatus, he sat on the bench. He's on their team. They came down and they threw pill bottles with batteries in them at him. What's wrong with you people?
In your blessing, you're too perfect.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill, season ticket holder Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. Happy holidays to all of you and yours. Chris, when are people going to be seeing this? Before or after the holiday?
I would say most likely after the holiday, considering it probably won't be released until Christmas. I should actually release it Christmas at 1. No one's going to want to watch those fucking games and backup quarterbacks. I'll try to put this out at 1 o'clock on Christmas so you can watch this and hold off on watching the first half of whatever the early... Is it Minnesota?
Google it.
Third string
Give it a Google because I in fact, what I want you to do is in post, can you just add a graphic of what the current slate of games is? Because when you pull it up and you look at it, it really is like you could see what they wanted. But also, I go back to Mark Cuban.
Cowboys Commanders are at 1. So that's Josh... You get Josh Johnson against Dak Prescott.
Okay, so what do we got? We got Cowboys Commanders at the 1 o'clock window. In the 4:30 window, we're going to have, what's their quarterback's name now?
Max Brosmer.
I keep thinking of Max Power from The Simpsons.
Sure.
Might as well be. The Lions and then Broncos Chiefs. Where I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's last name. Oladukin.
I don't think it matters.
Oladukin. Not gonna matter because you shouldn't be playing in the NFL. Like one of the most hilarious facets of this is that there's going to be 3 quarterbacks playing on Christmas Day that weren't starters. They weren't even backup quarterbacks when the preseason started not that long ago.
Here's a kicker. Sunday, 4:25, Buffalo and Philadelphia, which is what we're here to talk about. There's only one other 4 o'clock game. Do you know who we're up against?
Who?
Giants Raiders.
You know that powerhouse matchup, Giants Raiders. It's just it's utterly fascinating to me. And this is the NFL, right? The modern NFL. Not to get on my soapbox here, but I remember years and years and years ago where this is when they first flirted with expanding into windows where I think it was the draft coverage, and it was Mark Cuban bristling at this is going to interfere with the NBA and this and the other. And he basically, it's a phrase that I've thought of forever, and it's Mark Cuban saying, in the NFL, he's like, in business, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. And the NFL is acting really hoggish. Now, that was a decade ago. So, obviously, it looks like a lot of eggs on...
Hoggy.
Yeah. And so, what year was that? 2014. Now, obviously, here we are a decade later, and the NFL's making more money than they've ever made before.
NFL, for now, when we get Christmas on a weekend, NFL owns that. NFL just started owning Black Friday to take away from some of those college football matchups like a LSU Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. So they got Thanksgiving, they got Christmas, Black Friday.
The NCAA just had its first weekend of the NCAA college football playoff. And the NCAA put its best matchup of the day on a Saturday. Their best matchup of the day had to be played at noon Eastern Standard Time, because they didn't want to have to try to compete with the NFL in primetime.
Was that the best game, though?
I mean, if you want to talk about the matchup on paper, Miami against Texas A&M.
No, I'm on the field.
I mean, on the field, if you like defensive football, if you like dramatic finishes, yeah, that was a great game. I mean, what else were you going to watch? Tulane JMU.
Well, they knew what they were doing when they put Oklahoma, Alabama on a standalone on Friday night. I watched a majority of that.
So it's just this idea that everybody else has to dance around the NFL. But you also think about they're making money hand over fist. Back to Mark Cuban's original thought. Now, Christmas, that was always an NBA thing. It's the NFL's. But it's not just the NFL's. It's the NFL on Prime or on Netflix or on Disney Plus. You have to have this in order to watch our games now, because here's where the NFL is getting hoggy. They're not just overreaching and trying to become the most dominant televised sport in the U.S. What they're doing is they're also being incredibly lazy about it and saying, hey, we don't want to do any of the work here. So if somebody else is going to pay us a ton of cash to solve this problem of how do we get a game on Christmas, you want to handle all the logistics, all the broadcasting. Netflix, if you think that your platform can handle this without crashing, good luck. Take it and run with it. We don't care. We'll just cash that. Chris, can you Google it? How much did Netflix pay for the games?
I can Google it. I'm actually trying to find out if my guy's broadcasting, and he's not.
So this is what's frustrating to me. You get the
because last year they had Derek Carr in the studio and he fucking killed.
So,
but we'll be subjected to
Tom Brady and
on Christmas Day you get
on Christmas Day
desk analyst Manti Te'o.
Great, wonderful. It's just this idea that the NFL has become like an invasive weed, and that now every streaming service has a chunk of it, and they get to spread it around and make them fight each other for rights every year. And every couple of years, they'll renegotiate these contracts to give each one of them a cut. And it's painful because for the consumer, I mean, unless you know a guy or know about a certain thing, $150
million for 2 games.
You see what I mean? And the NFL's like, why wouldn't I take that check? Why wouldn't I take that check? And then the consumer has to go, well, wait a minute. I don't have Netflix. And they go, well, screw you. You don't get to watch football. It's like you're rapidly reaching a place where I think there's a break-even point with all of this. There has to be. In every business out there, there's a break-even point where when you endeavor beyond it to try to diversify, to try to add new things, it ends up costing you money. And yet the NFL somehow inexplicably hasn't found theirs yet. And that's why this stuff continues. Like, we've all seen the tweets about like people who've done the math of what it would cost to own all the streaming services. To have to watch every single game, in theory, you'd have to have all of these services and what that costs for the year. It's insanity.
Yeah, you know who's
and they wonder why piracy's at an all-time high.
Yeah. Do you know who's going to be a part of the Netflix broadcast? I don't want to say from an analyst standpoint, but there's going to be 2 people featured on the NFL on Netflix for Christmas Day. Any education guesses?
No.
2 bears, 1 cave.
Oh my God.
Both of them. Tom Segura and Burt Kreischer. And then also Seth Rollins.
It's too much. It's too much and it's got to stop. So I guess what I'm saying is this is a mess and it's all fueled by greed. And the NFL got exactly what it had coming to them with this slate of games on Christmas. Chris, I very much think you need to drop this show at 1 p.m. Get it in the queue, 1 p.m. on Christmas. You hate this holiday anyway.
I do. Make
sure it gets out. Make sure the people can see our stupid faces, because I will say it's probably better than watching Josh Johnson against the eliminated Cowboys.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know that the Dallas Cowboys are, when you look at the rank of what team, just based on current 2025 strength of schedule, when you look at the teams that are in the top 5 in terms of how easy their schedule was, the Cowboys are the only team not in the playoffs. Couldn't happen to a nicer group of people. And so with that, we're sitting here talking about Philadelphia. Again, you're probably hearing this on or just after Christmas. And I think it's fitting because do you remember the time those idiots threw snowballs at Santa?
Oh, yeah.
It might be one of the like how do you as a city get past that? Or at least like, because I mean, some people, I feel like I'm, what's his face? The fat kid from
Rocky.
Superbad. No, from Superbad, where he's just like
Jonah Hill.
And he points out that kid peed his pants. And he goes, that was in like 7th grade. People don't forget. I feel like the way I make fun of Ohio for setting the lake on fire. I'm never gonna forget that. I'm never gonna stop bringing it up. I feel like Philadelphia has a ton of those moments, don't they? Like as
Batteries.
a city, batteries. I remember fighting a guy outside of Hoff Brew House in Pittsburgh who very proudly told the story that he and his friends, when Vince Young came back from his like mental health hiatus and he sat on the bench, he's on their team. They came down and they threw pill bottles with batteries in them at him. It's like, what's wrong with you people? You're all terrible. You know, I've gone on record talking about the way that I don't like Pennsylvania for years. I actually do kind of have a soft spot for Pittsburgh. I do think that the people there can't pronounce their A's and O's properly. That's just a fact. Like when you hear people from PA talk, it's, so you know where they're from almost immediately the second they start talking. Like it's pervasive. It's like but when you think about Pittsburgh's just another Rust Belt kind of blue collar sensibility city. It's like Buffalo's Hillier brother, right? And if Pittsburgh is Buffalo's blue collar brother, Philadelphia is that sibling that went and got like an unironic face tattoo and like uses terms like YOLO and 6'7" unironically at the age of 37. Like that's who Philadelphia is compared to Pittsburgh.
I think of Philadelphia as like Philadelphia is like your brother that goes, "Hey, let me borrow $1,000. I'll pay you back," and then they just don't.
I mean, we could go on a run, right? Because when I hate things, I have specific hate. It's one of those things like when people were trashing me on social media a few weeks ago, 300 and some odd people all got together to tell me how much I suck. Most of it's generalized nonsense. If you really hate or really love a person, like this is the thing, in order to hate a thing properly, you have to know a lot about it. You have to care enough to know things about it so that you can hate it properly. That way you can make insults that really kind of sting. Like when I look at Philadelphia and I go, you do know that half of your city, about 40%, has been abandoned by commercial activity. And there's a giant section of it. They call it K&A. It's just swarming with addicts and squatters, and the government has no idea what to do about it. I watched a chronological map of urban decay via satellite view, and it was as fascinating as it was horrifying to watch. And that's Philadelphia.
Well, I mean, Philadelphia's, I would say, two bright spots for Philadelphia. One would be Always Sunny in Philadelphia. One of the great shows of all time. And then
Mark always makes fun of me and says I'm like Charlie Kelly because I never leave Buffalo.
That also checks out. And then their other thing is the Philadelphia cheesesteak, which you can come get at 4180 Abbott Road on Sunday at the tailgate.
That is true.
We are doing each city's food of choice. We have a Philly cheesesteak in Iman's. That you're doing the cheesesteaks.
Yep.
Iman is doing chicken wings, and we'll also have a sausage platter from Valence and flank steak because there's a lot of that. We're gonna cook more flank steak.
Yeah, we have.
And then I'm doing a bourbon. I'm doing a bourbon tasting. So if you like bourbon, I'm gonna have 3 ryes, 3 bourbons, 1 bottle each at 90, 100, and cask strength. So maybe you're not like me and you want to get into bourbon, you don't know how to. Come get a taste. We can find out if you're a rye guy or if you like bourbon. Unfortunately, I didn't go like super crazy with this, and then also have done the 90, 100, and cask strength proof bottles, but also got 3 wheated bottles, so we could find out if people like a good corn whiskey or wheated. You're
such a dork.
I know.
I love you, but you're such a dork. Also, a ton of ice cold Montucky cold snack on tap. If you haven't tasted yours yet, make sure you stop by. It is available at all consumer beverages locations in Western New York, as well as the Fatty Beer Company. Guys, I love I love this, but I had a thought as we kind of shift gears here because I have a whole list of things I could say. And Chris, I was like, hey, how many things? 20 minutes before I walked out the door to come here, I was like, how many things can I jot down that I could trash the city of Philadelphia for? Do you know that if you live there, you spend an average of 115 hours a year inside your vehicle because they're the 9th most congested city in the country?
It checks out.
Everything about, like, I could go on forever, but I had a thought. And then I was thinking about it as I was sitting here sipping beers and kind of thinking about this upcoming tailgate and how much fun this is going to be. It's also bittersweet because we're 2 games away from the end of Ralph Wilson Stadium. And
which we're going to have a special guest next week that you don't know about that I couldn't have gotten a better guest. Drew doesn't know who it is, and I'm not going to tell him, but I couldn't have gotten a better guest to end for recapping a game in Ralph Wilson Stadium and previewing the last game in Ralph Wilson Stadium.
So I guess when I look at this, I think to myself, it's the last time, unless something happens in the playoffs and, you know, the cards fall our way, this is the last time a team with a winning record will come into Buffalo to play a game at Ralph Wilson Stadium. Like something on the line, or at least a feeling of it, because as we're going to talk about, both teams might have a little bit of a motivation issue. But at the same time, this is it. This is the last truly competitive football game you're going to see played in Ralph Wilson Stadium, potentially. I don't know. It's just sad. Makes me nostalgic, makes me sad, makes me excited, makes me feel a lot of things. Hopefully it makes you feel something too. And hopefully we see you out there at 4180 Abbott Road in Dock Slot. But this is it, Chris. Our Week 17 preview, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Buffalo Bills. Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. Your weather is going to be a Buffalo special.
We're actually at 4:30.
Oh, 4:30. Yeah, 4:30. Excuse me. Buffalo special, guys. Rainy and raining early, 45 degrees with 16 to 20 mile an hour winds. But don't worry, because by about 7, 8 o'clock, right around when the fourth quarter's hitting, the temperature will be about 27 degrees. Anybody traveling in for the game is going to get the experience. Like, Chris, isn't that like the real Buffalo experience? People are like, oh, it's being stuck in a snowstorm. No, because the snowstorms may happen once in a while. I think the more remarkable thing is we live in a place where the temperature in a given day can swing 20 degrees inside of a 7 or 8 hour window, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than a rain game, and we haven't had any yet. And I did preseason. I did prepare myself, and I bought a rain jacket from Bearskin. Use the promo code. We don't have a promo code, but I wish we did. We'll just appeal to them the way we did to Montucky. I'll just send a bunch of annoying emails. Be like, listen, pay attention to me. No, my favorite thing about that is it takes me back to being in the stadium, Bills against the eventual Super Bowl winning New York Giants. That game, it rained and it rained and it rained. And then in the fourth quarter, it turned to snow. And we're all soaking wet, and all of a sudden, everything starts to freeze. And I remember, I was like, guys, we're going to get hypothermia out here. Strip. So now we're all shirtless. Now, unbeknownst to me, they're all at home watching the game. And I remember my uncle just he told me he belly laughed because he looked and he looks over at my aunt and goes, hey, look, there's your idiot nephew. And it's just me on TV with no shirt on they're like, oh, look at these fans, blah, 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 about their dedication. Look at how crazy they are. It's not about crazy. We were going to die of exposure. I feel like they were listening in on this. I just got a text message. Bearskin, the 64% off hoodie deal is almost done. Colder days are coming. This price isn't staying. Don't miss it with a link.
There you go.
There we go. We should have a promo code.
Throw it out there. Yeah. Screw them. They can't stop us from giving out their promo codes.
Well, I mean, this doesn't have. We would need one specific to the.
Go buy something from Bearskin and tell them the Rockpile Report sent you. The line on the game: Bills -2.5. Now, that was as of yesterday. I'm sure it's moving. And here's what's fascinating about this: The Bills are 7-8-0 against the spread this season, and they're 15th in the NFL. 7-8-0 entering last week anyway. I didn't go back to after the Browns game to see how they did because honestly, I blacked a lot of that out.
According to the Yahoo app on my phone, it is Buffalo -1.5.
Yeah, I'm sure Josh Allen's foot injury and some of the news that we're about to talk about, that plays a role. But this is the first time the Eagles have been underdogs all season. And so watching that line is going to be fascinating because they were supposed to be underdogs in their game against the Packers. But by the time kickoff rolled around, I don't know if it was just because the game got bet up to a certain point where the line flipped, but the Eagles became 1.5 point favorites right before kickoff. On the call, we have Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt, which I'm happy I'll be at the stadium and I don't have to listen to that.
I believe because I said the only other 4 o'clock game is Raiders and Giants, I'm going to be quite confident and say that Eagles-Bills is national. Everyone gets it across the United States.
So what I love, if we want to talk about the injury report, is just the idea that, of course, before the Buffalo Bills play this game, the Eagles are getting 2 of their best players back on the field and healthy.
Lane Johnson and
Jalen Carter. So that's good, right? They're back. They're practicing. Lane Johnson is alleged. He didn't practice today.
I was going to ask, is Jalen Carter flying with the team or is he driving here?
It took me a second to get that. You suck. I would love it if he drove himself here. Idiot. So Carter's back at practice. Lane Johnson was not. And joining him on the sidelines was Landon Dickerson with a calf injury, Nakobe Dean with a hamstring that he suffered last week that pulled him out of the third quarter of the game. And they're not practicing either. I question whether or not they would risk this. Like because like we're going to talk about, there's not a lot to play for.
No.
When you look at the numbers and you look at the probabilities, there's not a lot for either team really heading into this one. So I don't know what either team's, what's your motivation to risk a player who you know is important to your long-term success in a game like this?
Well, Buffalo's thing is position. The way it's going to play out, like I said last week, your focus is you got to get 5 to be able to play Pittsburgh. So I don't know how much you want to sacrifice somebody that is like can go either way, to take a week off or play him. But for Buffalo, there's every reason to keep winning because you want to get that 5 seed.
So for Buffalo, Jordan Phillips is going to be out, ankle injury. He was called week to week, but they almost talked about putting him on IR, so I can't imagine he'd be back. Matt Prater, Sean McDermott gave, they did kind of a walkthrough today, so it wasn't a real practice. But Matt Prater, they said he's gonna be, Sean McDermott was cagey when it came to giving a straightforward answer about what was going to happen with him. Meanwhile, when you look at what's going on, even though it's a walkthrough, Jordan Poyer, Daquan Jones, Dalton Kincaid, Cam Lewis, and Joey Bosa all not participating. So it could be nothing. It could be something. Josh Allen's foot injury is probably one of the biggest, but he says he's fine. Now, if you want to read more on this, this is why I love bangedupbills.com. Right? Like Jordan Poyer with his hamstring tweak. Today, Democrat and Chronicle, Sale, what is that?
Sale Mariana?
Is that how you say it, Mariana?
I would assume so.
I always screw that up. Just like I can't spell Reinhardt.
Yes.
I can't pronounce Sal Mariana.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is. Sal Mariana.
Well, he said Poyer was heavily limping. So at 34 years old, I can't imagine they're going to have a bulky safety playing, which will be interesting to watch because they do have Darnell Savage. He has been around. He's been getting acclimated with the playbook. I'll be interested to see if he's not elevated. Meanwhile, that Shaq Thompson injury was scary. Now, banged up Bills, he's day to day, which is better than I expected. It sounds like he's participating. He had a really fascinating read up at bangedupbills.com about not just the mechanism of injury, but also what we saw versus the reality of the situation, which underscores why he's one of the best at this. If you ever have questions about that thing, yeah, there's people on Twitter, but just bangedupbills.com for all of your analysis about injuries and everything else. I feel a little bit better about his situation having read that. And in terms of analysis for this game, there's one fascinating dynamic, because here we are talking about injuries, dictating who's on the field and who's not. I want to, like, over the past few weeks, I've had to ask, what the hell's going on with our game day and active lists? It really does make you ask a lot of questions. Week 14 against Cincy, a bunch of injury-related decisions, like Jordan Palmer, Joshua Palmer, whatever the fuck his name is. It doesn't matter. I'll never get that.
Josh Palmer.
I'm never going to get it right. He's a J Palmer. I don't give a damn. Until you catch me a meaningful touchdown pass, I'm not paying attention to you. Joey Bosa, Terrell Bernard. They kept Fedarian Mathis out. He's a run stuffer. You're playing a pass-heavy offense, so maybe that makes some sense. And they leaned in favor of Larry Ogunjobi, who continued to be a gross liability. Morgan Fox gets elevated from the practice squad and ties Dorian Williams for snaps on defense. He records no stats other than one missed tackle, grades terribly in every single facet of the football game. Week 15 against the Patriots, Gabe Davis, who caught a clutch fourth down pass and also made a couple other first down catches in your comeback win against the Bengals the previous week, gets made inactive, which I flat out said I thought was crazy pregame, considering they played Coleman, who they've been benching all year, like ever since the midway point of the season. Coleman somehow beat out Davis in the wide receiver pecking order just a week or two after being put behind him against Houston. Usually that only happens, Chris. Like if you see that kind of elevation, you have to earn it, right?
Yeah.
Based on what Coleman's done, what have you seen him earn?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Maybe a yellow jacket.
Fedarian Mathis out again, questionable, considering the uptick in interior offensive line competition in this. But in theory, again, they went into the Patriots game going, oh, Larry Ogunjobi, he'll contribute. Shocker. He makes one tackle and then just shows his ass a bunch. Whiffs on a sack, misses some tackles. They also made Darnell Savage inactive because he just showed up and he's looking through the playbook. And I look at that I remember decrying the defensive tackle decision. And then week 16 against the Browns rolls around and Larry Ogunjobi finally rides Pine. Now, I don't know if it'll stick or if we only saw that because it was matchup dependent. Like, hey, we're going to bring in a better run blocker. We shouldn't need a better pass rusher because their offensive line is terrible. Turns out that's not the case. Mecole Hardman comes back. And somehow Mecole Hardman, who takes 0 snaps on offense, relegates both Coleman and Davis back to the inactive list. Both of them. Not one or the other. I don't know who's making these decisions anymore, or at least how they're being arrived at. Like, we talk about the Bills utilizing wide receivers with size and physical ability to block in space to augment the tight end room and the offensive line to boost one of the few things that runs this team offensively, which is our running game. Screen passing, stuff like that. Like, you need big physical receivers to get out in front of those things. The wide receiver core they rolled out in this game, taking Shavers out of the equation, averaged 5'10" and 196 pounds. Like, I don't understand where this came from, and I don't know what the idea is, and a part of me starting to worry that maybe they don't either. Because you want to believe that this isn't just, like, you want to believe there's a plan. You want to believe that your NFL team throughout the course of a season has massaged their roster enough. They've seen enough in practice. They've figured out who can play what role, who can do what well. Let's shuffle this guy into this position. In this type of game, we need this guy. Even if you don't have a robust wide receiver core, let's say that you know you can trust in up against every caliber of defense. Hey, we know this defense plays a lot of man coverage. We should get some smaller, faster guys. Or, hey, we know we're going to need a bigger physical wide receiver, depending on what your offensive philosophy is. This is starting to feel more and more like they're just throwing darts. And I can't, like, you go into a game where the boundary wide receivers gave you nothing against the Browns. Well, yeah, because you took both of the guys who you were supposed to base this plan around. You took them completely out of the equation. Who was supposed to go do it? It's like you want to start seeing the picture, but the more and more I look at this, I feel like the guy's spying on the kids and Little Giants from the bushes. You're like, oh, look at how this is genius. It's inventive. Look, the tight end is in the backfield. The running back's split out wide, and the quarterback's not even there. They're standing around, butts. It's just a bunch of kids picking their nose in a parking lot. I hope to God that the Bills aren't just standing around picking their noses in parking lots when it comes to how they're trying to group these guys together, but it starts to feel that way. One of the things I look at, though, and something that makes me feel, and this is a point I want to make, because again, there's really not a lot to talk about in terms of this game. I want to spend some time this week talking about this dynamic. One singular call up from the practice squad for Morgan Fox, deciding he was awful before you dump him back on the street for another veteran defensive end. Actually, two, if you count Shaq Lawson and Matthew Judon, who's now here. But here's the question. If Lawson, why wasn't he the phone call before Fox? No idea. How bad must Lawson look in practice if he hasn't already been called up and they're already pulling other guys off the street? More importantly, how bad must Javon Solomon be? That in Morgan Fox's lone appearance against Cincinnati, the team gave him 11 snaps at the edge position. A guy off the street who just signed here, who learned your playbook like 3 weeks ago, and then gave 6 snaps to the guy who they drafted last year as a developmental prospect. You can't develop if you never see the field. Solomon saw 0 snaps on defense against New England in 15. Meanwhile, TJ Sanders saw 10 snaps at defensive end. Your rookie defensive tackle outsnapped a guy you drafted to play defensive end at his own position. In week 16, the Bills elevated a defensive end off the practice squad named Andre Jones Jr. and gave him 21 snaps at defensive end. Solomon saw 0. All the talk during the offseason was that the Buffalo Bills defensive line wasn't top heavy, but it's deep and they've got bodies that they can throw at this. Well, I feel like Maury should be here reading polygraph results because that was a lie. The results are showing me that was a lie. You've got guys walking off the street and surpassing your homegrown talent now on a regular basis at a multitude of positions, which means either they were never very good or you're mismanaging them. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just salty because I'm watching Hollins and Diggs thrive in New England and it's killing me slowly inside. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Like, we just have a problem here. And I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with this roster, both short and long term. And that's a terrifying prospect, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So now we get this Eagles game. And you have to question what's at stake for both of them. This time of year, the intensity and the magnitude of the games are often measured by fans in terms of the potential impact on the postseason. In that regard, this game does not deliver the goods. The Eagles have just clinched the NFCs for a second straight year. They are an over 80% odds to land the 3 seed. There's a very, very, very small road that leads to them making the 2 seed. It's impossible for them to get the 4 seed, and it's like there's like a 1% chance they could get the 1 seed. That's it. Those are your options. There's not really a lot that can go your way. Like, think about think about the teams that they're behind out there in the West.
Seattle.
They're behind
LA.
Seattle, LA, San Francisco.
But that doesn't matter for playoff purposes because those 3 are in the same division.
But then also, pull it up. Pull up the playoff picture. You'll see it. They are stuck at the 3 seed. Now, you could pedal to the metal, Try to stay hot, try to keep your win streak alive. Maybe that means something for you. But by and large, you're not really chasing much. Similarly, the Bills, they've clinched. They currently hold the 6th seed. You'd like to have the 5 seed, but I don't know how reasonable that is. And then at the same time, neither team has a path to the bye week. Or at least, like, it's still mathematically possible, but it's not. So, while fans might think about the game in terms of weighing the risks of injury, maybe mailing it in a game or two, just kind of punt, get healthy, these are professional athletes. They're not going to do that. At the same time, I do think you might see some shrewd decisions. You know, Dalton Kincaid, Sean McDermott made comments to Sal Mariano today about how, we're managing his knee situation. Chris, this is the second time we've reached the end of the year and he's got a knee problem. At a certain point, you have to decide whether, I think this is the offseason, they have to decide whether or not to give him the 5th-year option. I don't know. I would hesitate to do that. Giving him the 5th-year option does what for you? Locks you into a high-dollar, fully guaranteed contract and a guy who's not healthy? I don't know. I feel like now they're just trying to do the best they can and get on to the next offseason with him to figure the rest of it out. And I think that one of the most fascinating things, if you want to talk about the football game itself, the only way I can think of to describe these two teams, the flawed winners is the only phrase I can think of that applies to both of them. Like, are they going to the NFL postseason? Sure, of course they are. Are they a lock for any sort of success when they get there? I don't know. It depends on what iteration of them shows up in the wild card round, because the story on each of them is that they're good is great, and they're bad is flavored like Ipecac. Stop me if you've heard some of these critiques before, Chris. Offense is only really workable when the rushing attack can carry a game, despite having a highly paid and highly touted quarterback.
True.
I could be describing either team. Offensive coordinator has been widely derided by the fan base, despite scoring more than 25 points in at least half their games.
True.
Kicking isn't just not a strength. It's something you genuinely grimace when they have to employ it.
Well, with Badgley, yes.
At any point, when have you ever felt good? Like, oh man, this is a 49-yard field goal, but it's fine. We've got this in the bag.
Prater, yes. Badgley, no.
Jake Elliott's having one of the worst seasons of his entire career. He's like 34th in the NFL. He's got some really gross statistics. Like Jake Elliott, he's 39th in the NFL in field goal percentage, which means some teams have multiple kickers who have kicked for them this season who outperformed Jake Elliott. And here's the fun part. He's perfect from inside 40. Perfect. But the team has continued to ask him to hit 50-plus yarders, and he's missed 4 of them, which underscores that his legs and his mechanics just aren't what they used to be, and the Eagles are still trying to rely on that. That's an offensive problem. And then the return game. It's something you silently hope doesn't matter for you because your team sucks at it. Until recently, right?
Yeah.
But then punt returns, I watched Mecole Hardman try to go east to west. Coming off that calf injury, Mecole Hardman was supposed to be fast, right?
Yeah.
I think you could have outran him on that one.
Probably.
How about this? Offensive line penalties seem to plague them. Eagles are one of the league's top teams in offensive line penalties, and the Bills at one point, maybe they still do as of today, lead the NFL in holding calls. I could keep going, but I hope you guys get the picture. These are both really talented football teams that have just found ways to show their ass in so many places that even their rowdiest supporters would be hard-pressed to throw a significant bet on a game like this. And it's like, look at them. They have a kicker problem. We have a kicker problem. Michael Badgley, he's terrible. There's so much here that's just...
We were looking at kickers today.
They have star wide receivers who cost a ton of people their fantasy football seasons this year because they just, for the longest time this season, have struggled to find ways to utilize them. It's fascinating how these football teams have found themselves to the place where they are. Both of them on paper. Remember when the season started and we talked about this as a potential Super Bowl matchup?
Yes.
Like, oh man, these teams are two teams that could be seeing each other in the playoffs. And you say, okay, like that makes sense. One of them has a really good defense. They keep pouring assets into it. Their GM is aggressive. He chases trades and chases things. Chris, so far, just in the last, like if you go back to week 8, okay, so through the last 8 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of their games, Jalen Hurts has failed to pass for more than 205 yards.
It checks out.
These teams have talented quarterbacks. They have things that they could rely on, yet they do not move the ball through the air. And when they do, it's a direct byproduct of the fact that the rushing attack is working. But then they just lean on the rushing attack. Like, it's fascinating to know that, like, I was listening to the statistic on the way over here. Saquon Barkley in the month of December for his entire career averages 10.2 yards per game more in December compared to any other month. Every other month, he averages about 78. He's in the high 80s, almost 90 yards per game. Something about the way he plays, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's the way the teams he's played on lean on him. That seems like a nightmare scenario for Buffalo, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's just so many moving pieces to a game like this. Like, you look at the defense that they have, they're really good. And they've continued to pour assets in, like they're the ranked scoring defense. And they continue to try to get better. You know, they go out and they say, hey, we're getting a lot of sacks, but you know what? We could get more. Let's go trade for Jalen Phillips. Why not? What does it matter? And now you watch them absorbing injuries at linebacker and you go, well, it's a good thing they invested so much in their defensive line. It's fascinating to watch two competing theories on how to build a roster. Although I did talk about it during our airing of grievances a little bit, because I'm obviously everybody's is Brandon Beane. And I think there's something to this that we're seeing this season that kind of mirrors something we've seen in the past from him. If you haven't seen it yet, I won't spoil it for you. Go back and check it out. But yeah, this game is going to be, I think, one of those ones where my focus is on the tailgate and you don't even try to think about what the game might look like. You just focus on the pregame and enjoying that as much as you can because you have no idea what's coming next. And so then that brings us to the playoff picture. I mean, we can exhale. The Bills are in the dance. Who are they going to play? No idea. Unclear. But the path is starting to get a little shape. And it's also starting to look a little more dubious as these games go on. Now, I know these things happen, right? The week after we beat Tampa Bay, everyone goes, oh, you know, the Bills are back. And then they go out and drop a game. Then they go out and they beat the Patriots and everyone goes, oh, there it is. There's the offensive juggernaut Buffalo Bills. And then they go out and just fuck around with Cleveland for 60 minutes. You're like, oh my God, kill me now. So last week I sat here and talked about how I was comfortable with the 6th seed. I was like, oh, the 6th seed's starting to grow on me. I get to go to Jacksonville. I get to play the 3rd seed Jaguars. That feels like so long ago and so far removed from where I am sitting and feeling today. Anybody else out there feel the same?
Yeah, because you watch them beat the fuck out of the Broncos, and now you're on team 5 seed like I was last week. You got to get the 5 seed to get Pittsburgh.
It's not just that. It's look at I guess when I think about the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm just consistently focused on how many times they've sucked, how many times in our collective lifetimes they've let everybody down. And you look at where they are now, 6-game winning streak. Have there been some soup cans in there? Yeah, the Jets, the Cardinals, but they've averaged 33 points a game over the last 8 weeks.
Well,
not a typo. That's not a flub. That's 33 points a game.
Everything
for the last half a season
has happened to the Jaguars since that Houston game. That should have been the downfall of their season, and they should have folded like that tent you shouldered in the playoffs last year. to give up 26 to Houston in the 4th quarter and lose that game the way you did, and to come back the next week and you start a winning streak that you're still on, speaks volumes. I I mean, I wouldn't want to play Jacksonville, but I also wouldn't mind playing Jacksonville because it's Liam Cohen. We don't know what he is in the playoffs or in big spots. Trevor Lawrence, you don't trust in big spots. You know, I'd be okay playing the Jaguars, but again, I'd rather take that 5 seed to play Pittsburgh.
Well, you look at their defense. Their defense is in the top half of the league, right? For scoring, yards. They're the best rushing defense in the NFL, and their pass defense, even though they're not the best, they're second in the league in creating turnovers. They put scoreboard pressure on you with their quarterback and also eliminate the run, forcing you to become a one-dimensional football team. That's a shitty place to live. I know a team that used to do that to people.
Buffalo?
I know a team that used to do that to people. And that looks like a nightmare matchup for a Bills team right now. I can't tell you what they excel at other than running the football out of heavy personnel groupings. Here's
my question, because I don't know the answer to it. Who do we want on Saturday? Houston or LA?
That's one of those games where I sit there and I watch it like Larry David in that meme. Just, I don't know. Maybe. However it ends, I'm going to find a way to think of it as a bad thing.
I'm thinking we want Houston to win, assuming we can win out.
Well, if the 5
that
seed's
way
what
we jump LA.
Maybe. God.
But then Houston takes the 6 seed.
If you go down this rabbit hole too far, you end up like Charlie Kelly in the mailroom. Just drawing around on a board.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is the Chargers have a difficult final 2 games. They're home against the Texans and they're on the road against the Broncos. We have to find a way to have a better record over these next 2 weeks than them. That's it. If the goal is to get ahead of them, we have to beat them over the next 2 weeks. Think about it as a 2-week season to get to where you want to be, which is the 5 seed. You got to figure that out. So that means you have to beat Philly, or you have to, I think you have to hope that they lose out, which I don't think is highly likely. I think that if the Broncos have locked up a 1 seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not going to play their starters. But also,
Denver's got Kansas City on Christmas Day, and the Patriots either have the Dolphins or the Jets.
Jets. They have the Jets.
So
this is the thing. The Patriots track to the 1 seed is actually really nicely laid out for them. You know, there was that graphic that you were talking about earlier where it's like the number of winning football teams.
Oh, yeah.
It's fascinating to me how they've built this season and how the Patriots have gotten to where they got. But they're going to face quarterbacks who were third stringers when the NFL season started. In fact, lower than that. Quinn Ewers was never supposed to see the field this year.
Yeah.
I don't even know who the guy the Jets found is. I
don't even know his name.
I think they pulled him off the street from Jersey and just said, "Hey, greaseball, you want to? Do you want a jersey?" I
bet he got pulled over for speeding in Hoboken. And Gary Smith gave him an ultimatum. Look, I can book you on this ticket, but you can get out of it by starting for the Jets at quarterback.
Joe Pesci came in and pulled a My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
Negotiated with the judge. I just know that right now the pressure is on the Broncos to win out now. Because if they don't, if they don't win out, the Patriots are right there. And then they could give us that defense versus defense battle we alluded to last week.
Yeah.
And the Broncos and the Texans.
Yes.
Which would be music to my ears. We just got to find a way to get there. I think that out of the 2 teams that are going to play this weekend, the Bills need this more. They have to. Because the Eagles play a brand of football that, especially with the caliber of defense they have, even though they have their games where they don't tackle well. That's one of the other things. Both the Bills and the Eagles are in the bottom 5 of the NFL for tackling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're locked into where they are. They really can't move.
Now, because the Bears are ahead of them, and they played each other on Black Friday, and the Bears won.
Yeah.
So it would have to be, Eagles would have to win out, and the Bears would have to lose out for the Eagles to jump to the 2 seed.
Yeah. It's highly improbable. But again, this is the NFL. I don't expect teams to make, player personnel decisions. I think if you're healthy, you play. But with that said, the Bills definitely need this one They need it more than the Eagles do. If nothing else, a confidence booster before you head into the playoffs. Like, hey, I still have it in me to go out there and go toe-to-toe with an actual winning football team, and I can hold my own. Not the Patriots, not some other team. Like, no, I want to go out there and I want to play a highly talented football team, and I want to try not to get blown off the field. And if I can do that, then just maybe, as a wild card, I have what it takes to go run the table as a road team. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating. Like I said, I'm going to try to enjoy every moment of this right up until kickoff. I'm going to try to maintain an air of positivity.
Let me ask you this. Do I get to hold your phone during the game? We have done this before where I hold Drew's phone so he can't tweet. Or maybe we just, because we're going to, we sold 2 of our tickets to one of our listeners, Jason Detro. Maybe we let him hold your phone. He's a really nice guy. I wouldn't mind you watching you fight him to get your phone back.
It would be one of the funniest things in the world if we give him my phone to hold on to so I can't just set our account on fire again. And instead, he just takes it and tweets the ugliest things on earth. Just gets us kicked off the platform. It'd be funny, honestly. Like, I've been waiting for the day. That's how this is going to end. You know that, right?
Yeah.
The day that we have no more use for Twitter, you guys think it's bad now. Just wait. I'm going to burn it to the ground. They're never going to allow me anywhere near the platform again. I feel like that's the only way to go. I will not go quietly into the night. I'm going to be like the guy in Independence Day, just flying into the belly of the alien spaceship. That's it. That's how I'm going to get kicked off social media. It's me and I'm back. Hopefully this weekend's not the day. Hopefully Sunday at 9:30, our Twitter still works. And the Buffalo Bills have a big say in that. I can't wait. Guys, make sure you come on out. Stop by the tailgate. Say hi. It's going to be a great day. We're going to have a great spread of food, a great group of people, and I think that there's no better send-off you can give the stadium these last few weeks than that. 4180 Abbott Road, Dock Slot. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. And this has been your Rockpile Report.